last week I talked about how to be 100% yourself, and if I'm being 100% myself, I had a rough night last night. I had one of those nights where I couldn't stop my brain. I was overthinking, I was overwhelmed, I had full-on analysis paralysis, which doesn't happen often anymore, and when it does happen, which is totally normal, raise your hand if you're kind of experiencing this right now too, I needed to find a routine that would help me get clarity and get grounded again. So I created this routine a couple years ago, and I thought it was the perfect thing to share because I know you might be going through this too. And shout out to Cindy who said, I'm exhausted and I feel like I need to hit pause and reset. I hope this helps because it's helped me immensely get back on track when I have those moments, and they don't last nearly as long as they used to. And am I gonna tell you to meditate or go buy something or whatever? Hell no. I'm just gonna tell you to use what you have to combat that feeling of too much is going on in your brain. So it starts with body. It's called the breathe routine. It starts with body. So what I mean by that is that energy and emotion live in your body. And I've learned this very much so. A lot is trapped in our body. And it could be from a long, long time ago, but the biggest thing is to just move. And I'm not talking get on the bike, go run a marathon. I'm talking just move. Shake your body out, get out the kinks, stretch, do whatever you have to do to put your body in motion so it gets out of your head and into your body, and you work it out. So the next thing is reflection. And this is one of my favorite things to do, solves a lot of my problems, and I called the brain dump, and I talked about it in my video where I talked about being more productive, doing less. It applies to everything. So I just write out everything that's on my mind, and everything that I was overthinking about goes in my notebook. And whether you do a bullet point, you freehand write, there is no perfect way to do this. Just put pen to paper, because again, it's getting it out of your head and onto paper so you can get some perspective on really what it is that you're so worried about. So reflecting and getting it onto paper is vitally important. Now the next thing, probably my favorite part of this, is eating, because when I get stressed out or I feel overwhelmed, anxious, etc., I pretty much forget to eat. So I try my best now or what I used to do is I would eat like the worst things in the world for myself, and that would lead to feeling worse and feeling more clouded and feeling more overwhelmed. So I reach for whole foods, apple, stick to water, because those make me feel good and grounded. Now, what I used to reach for are the things that I actively avoid now. So things like caffeine. So I don't drink coffee, but I drink matcha. On the days where I don't have a good sleep, where I'm feeling overwhelmed, no caffeine for me. I'll stick to water or any sort of herbal tea, any sort of goodie. This is my favorite chocolate bar. I will not touch processed sugar when I'm feeling this way. And I know, I'm a no fun zone, but it really does make a difference. No wine, no booze. If I feel great, all these things are totally fine. But when I feel overwhelmed or anxious or stressed, if I touch these, it's actually gonna make me feel worse. So I avoid them. Now the next thing, which is kind of weird, but really important, is I'll also reach for things that I know I hate. So I will grab this. So my fiance loves green peppers and he loves cilantro. I hate them. I hate them. I have since I was a kid. I don't know why, I just am one of those people. Probably think I'm crazy, but I hate them. So the reason this is important is because there are very specific things in your life that are so simple, so basic, where it is a clear no or a clear yes for you. And oftentimes for me, it's food. I'm really clear in what I like and what I don't like. So when you feel overwhelmed or you're overthinking or you're stressed, the biggest thing that goes away is your trust in your intuition, and you actually can't hear your own intuition. So when I pick this up and I think about eating it, my body actually contracts. And that's what a no feels like. One of the best things I've ever learned for every part of my life, whether it was dating or running my business, I needed to know what a no felt like in my body. Because if you just think about it logically, sometimes they don't add up. And I would say yes to things when I meant to say no. So I want to know what it feels like to think about eating things that I hate. Sounds so strange, but what are foods that you hate and how does your body feel when you think about eating them? My body contracts. It feels like I'm forcing or pushing, and that's a no for me. A yes oftentimes will feel like expansion and like I'm opening up. So that helped me tune back into my intuition and get rid of all the things I'm overthinking about, because I know what a yes or a no feels like. And I probably know deep down the thing I'm overthinking about, I don't need to, because I know what the answer is. But I just am so in my head that I've forgotten what it feels like in my body. Now the next thing is ask. Ask yourself a couple questions. First is worrying about this thing actually serving you in some way? Maybe there's a legitimate reason you're worried, but oftentimes there isn't. Is there a real threat or fear? Probably not. And if there is, then how can you tackle it? But when it's just like the big bad wolf over there and you don't actually know, how to do anything about it, it's just living up here, then it becomes a bigger problem than it needs to be. And the next question is, ask yourself if worrying about it is at all going to change the outcome. Because usually your worry is just wasted time and it's not going to change anything at the end of the day. And then the next question to ask yourself, which are 3 of my favorite, is when you do that brain dump, look at that list and ask yourself, do I need to do this? Do I need to do this right away? And does this need to be done at all? So if the answer to any of those is no, remove it. Don't overwhelm yourself further. Try and clear out any clutter from the things you think you need to do. So that's the next part of this. And the next piece is the T, which stands for talk. Whether you're talking to a wall, your dog, I don't care. You just got to talk to somebody, because again, writing it down is really important, but also verbally processing it. That's how I operate. I have to get it out of my mouth. So sometimes my fiance and I will talk to each other and I'll just say, I just need you to listen. I actually don't need you to solve this problem. I just need to get it out of my head. And as I talk about it, I usually will be able to realize it's not that big of a deal, or that there's an easy solution to it. So again, just getting it out is really important. So the next thing is, you probably could have guessed this, but it's hero. So what the heck do I mean by that in this context? Well, I have this thing I keep at my bedside table, one sec. And I've had it here for the last 5 years, and it's every single thing I've accomplished. Sounds really bizarre, right? I remember my therapist actually said to me, give this a shot. Give this a try and just write down everything that you've accomplished in your life. So the first thing on here is I moved into my first apartment on my own. And that was, a long time ago. But it basically is just a reminder whenever I'm feeling like I'm not confident in my decision, or I'm doubting myself, or I'm feeling overwhelmed by a decision I have to make, I look at this list, it's 3 pages long, and I realize that I have made harder decisions, I've tackled bigger things, and I am a fully capable human being to do this because I have proof. And it shows me that I have been the hero before, I always have been the hero, and I will be the hero again. And I will come out of this, and a bad day does not make me a bad person, and it does not equal a bad life. So hero, duh. And then the next piece is exhale. So yeah, it sounds pretty simple, but I learned this in a book called B.R.E.A.T.H.E, and very appropriate. And basically we have this primal instinct in our body that when we get stressed out, it's like this fight or flight mechanism. And your body actually has to have a release of that fight or flight. So a really simple thing to do is to breathe in, tense every bone in your body, every muscle in your body, and specifically focus on the area where you carry stress. For me, it's right here. So I tense everything for 10 seconds. You can do it with me right now. And then I exhale. And that signals to my body it's okay to release it. And it's really strange the things that can happen when you do this. I've actually done this and started crying. I've done it and started laughing. I've been in workout classes and actually started crying because that's where the body is so important, and how many trapped emotions and pieces of energy you actually have in there. So the next time that you are feeling this way, or maybe you have a bad day or a bad night, it's really important to remember this routine because you can't be 100% yourself. You can't make decisions that are based on your terms when you are clouded, when you're exhausted, when you're constantly pushing. And that's that whole hustle scam I was talking about. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, all you got to do is B.R.E.A.T.H.E. Breathe. Are you with me? I highly recommend you check out B's videos next. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with somebody who needs to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.